Welcome to Uzbekistan. This is a place I never thought in a million years I would visit. But fortunately, because my wife has family ties here, we decided, why not? We have time, let's take a trip. And so this video is going to be an ultimate guide because we're visiting Khiva, Bukhara, Samarkand, and Tashkent, which is the capital. So these are all kind of major spots that you can come to visit. There's plenty of other places to see, but these are the ones that we're hitting up, and we're spending 9 days here. So we've got plenty of time to discover everything. So we just want to do an ultimate summary. We're going to do individual videos for each city so that you can kind of discover more of the nooks and crannies of each of those cities. But in this video, it's going to be an ultimate guide. We're going to show you how to get here, give you tips on travel, taxis, prices, food, hotels.
Yes, all the museums, how you need to pay, how you get train. Yes, this video, it's more informational.
So with that being said, let's explore beautiful Uzbekistan.
Traveling around Uzbekistan is actually pretty easy, but there are a few things you'll want to know if you choose to visit. Uzbekistan has 8 international airports to choose from, including Tashkent, which is the largest. We chose to fly into Urgench, which is one of the smallest airports, and that's putting it nicely. When we arrived, there was one currency exchange kiosk, and it wasn't working. We ended up exchanging money with the person selling SIM cards just so we could call a taxi. So if you're flying into a smaller airport like Urgench, don't count on easy access to cash or services on arrival. You can absolutely flag down a taxi, although most likely they'll be waiting for you just as you leave the airport. But be prepared to negotiate a price up front. Before you do, it helps to have a destination in mind and what a rough idea of a fair price looks like. As with everything, prices will vary. But for us, a 15-minute ride from the airport to the hotel in Tashkent cost about 25,000 soum, or just over $2. But the main point is, don't get in a taxi until you've agreed upon a price. For most of the trip, we used Yandex Go, basically Uzbekistan's version of Uber. You can pay with cash or card, and it works really well once you're up and running. We highly recommend downloading it and making sure it's working before you arrive. When we landed, we couldn't get it to work, which is why we had to order the taxi. Trains are a great way to move between cities, which is what we chose to do, including a sleeper train from Khiva to Bukhara. You can reach most of the country by fast or slow train. Prices will vary by route and class. If you do choose to travel by train, we recommend you book as early as possible. Tickets go on sale 45 days in advance and they sell out fast, especially on popular routes. Download the UZ Railways app, have your passport info ready, and reserve your seats the moment they become available. The bigger cities have metro systems, and we'd absolutely encourage you to use them. Each station feels like its own art gallery. The Soviet-era architecture and tile work are genuinely stunning. It's also incredibly cheap, about 14 cents per ride. They're clean, and they're safe. Just be aware, during rush hour, it can get super crowded. If you want to go off the beaten path, hiring a private driver is an option worth considering. We wanted to visit a place that wasn't on the standard tourist circuit, and after looking at our options, a private driver made the most sense. He took us 400 kilometers round trip and waited patiently while we explored, and the whole thing came to only about $82. For that kind of flexibility and distance, it's honestly hard to beat. We'll go into more detail about how we arranged it and where we went in a separate video, but if you're looking to get somewhere a little more remote, don't overlook this option. There are plenty of great options when it comes to places to stay in Uzbekistan, and one of the things we loved most is that a lot of the hotels aren't actually traditional hotels at all. They're family homes that have been converted into guest houses. They tend to be more affordable than standard hotels. They're family run, so the hospitality feels genuinely personal. Many of them are located right next to the main attractions, which makes getting around so much easier. That said, there are a couple of things worth knowing before you book. 1, the beds can be hard. Like, really hard. This came up in a lot of reviews we read before our trip, and sure enough, we experienced it in at least one of our stays. If you're the type who loves a firm mattress, you'll be perfectly happy. But if you're the type that needs to sleep on a cloud, just be aware. It might be worth checking reviews specifically for bed comfort, or packing something to soften the blow. A travel pillow or a thin mattress topper can go a long way. 2. This one's important. Uzbekistan requires all visitors to obtain official proof of stay, also called a hotel registration, from every place they sleep. This isn't just a receipt, it's a formal registration document that hotels are legally required to file electronically with the government. When you leave the country, immigration officials can and do ask for this paperwork to verify your whereabouts and how long you were in Uzbekistan. We were asked for it ourselves. If you forget to collect it at checkout, don't panic. You can contact the hotel after the fact, and since registration is done electronically, border staff may be able to verify it in the system. But trust us, it's a lot easier to just grab it before you leave each hotel so you don't have to deal with it in the immigration line. Uzbekistan has a diverse food scene built around simple, natural ingredients. And the food alone is a reason to visit. The most famous dish is plov, also called osh, which is Uzbekistan's national dish. It's a hearty rice dish, typically made with lamb, carrots, onions, and spices, all cooked together in a large cast iron pot called a kazan. Every city, every family, and every chef puts their own spin on it, and they'll all tell you that theirs is the best. We tried plov in every city we visited, but our favorite was at a gorgeous restaurant called Besh Kazan in the middle of Tashkent. Other dishes you absolutely have to try are Shashlik, skewered and grilled meat, usually lamb or beef, cooked over an open flame. Simple, smoky, and incredibly good. Samsa, a baked pastry stuffed with spiced meat and onions, fresh from the tandoor. And Pirogki, one of my personal favorites. It's basically a fried potato dish, and while it sounds simple, it's absolutely delicious. Being one of the great stopping points on the ancient Silk Road, Uzbekistan has a deep tea culture. You'll find all kinds of tea. But the staples at the dinner table are green and black tea, and they flow freely throughout the meal. One thing to know, it often comes with sugar already on the table or pre-added. So if you're watching your carb intake, just let them know before it arrives. Last, but definitely not least, is the bread. Obinan is Uzbekistan's iconic flatbread, and it deserves its own mention. Baked fresh every single day in a tandoor, a traditional clay oven, the dough is slapped directly onto the oven's hot inner walls, and it comes out with a beautifully crispy edge, a soft center, and a distinctive stamped pattern made with a traditional tool called a chekich. In Uzbek culture, bread is considered sacred. It's never placed upside down, and it's the elder at the table who breaks it to begin the meal. This bread has been a part of the daily life on the Silk Road for thousands of years, and one bite of fresh bread out of the oven and you'll understand why. One of the best things about eating in Uzbekistan, aside from how good everything tastes, is how affordable it is. For a full meal for two, and we're talking a proper meal that will leave you stuffed, including dessert, you're looking at roughly between 150 and 250,000 sum. And while that sounds like a lot, it's only about $12 to $20. If you eat a little more conservatively, you can easily get away with 85 to 150,000 sum. By any standard, that's a tremendous amount of food for very little money. If you love to haggle, Uzbekistan is definitely your place. There are tons of options for shopping, both modern stores and historic markets. And most of them, including the more contemporary shops, are completely open to negotiating on price. So don't be shy about it. Everywhere you go, you'll find markets filled with handmade items from incredibly skilled artisans whose families have been practicing these crafts for generations. There are vibrant hand-painted ceramic plates and cups, each one unique. You'll find beautifully hand-engraved copper and brass trays, wooden jewelry boxes and decorative caskets, intricately carved wooden panels and tables, hand-etched teapots and jugs. And then there's Samarkand's famous paper. Actual handmade paper crafted from mulberry bark using a tradition that goes back to the 10th century. It's sold as postmarks, bookmarks, and canvases for miniature paintings. The paper mill was probably one of my biggest surprises. One thing you should absolutely make time for if you're in one of the bigger cities is the bazaar. These aren't just shopping destinations, they're an experience. Picture beautiful, organized chaos. Stalls overflowing with spices and dried fruits, candy, fresh food, silk, textiles, ceramics, handmade souvenirs, and pretty much everything else you can think of. The sights and the smells, the sounds, it's full of sensory overload in the best possible way. Whether you buy anything or not, shopping in Uzbekistan is genuinely one of the highlights of the trip. It's an experience all on its own. There are a mountain of things to see and do in Uzbekistan. This country will genuinely surprise you with how much it has to offer. During our trip, we visited Khiva, Bukhara, Samarkand, and Tashkent, and we're also planning to make individual videos going deep on each one of these cities. But for this guide, we want to highlight a few things you absolutely should not miss if you have the opportunity to visit. Entering Khiva is like stepping into a time machine. The centerpiece is Ichan Kala, and I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. The ancient walled inner city and Uzbekistan's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's essentially a living open-air museum, over 50 historic monuments packed into less than 1 square kilometer, with mosques, minarets, madrasas, palaces, and narrow alleys that haven't changed much in centuries. One thing we'd especially recommend, stay inside the walls if you can. The famous Hotel Orient Star is housed inside the 19th century Mohammed Amin Khan Madrasa. You're literally sleeping in what were once student dorms inside this historic monument. It's one of those experiences you just can't get anywhere else. Once the day trippers leave, the whole city gets quiet and magical in a way that's hard to describe. In Bukhara, don't miss the Ark. It's a massive ancient fortress that served as the seat of power and the official residence of the emirs of Bukhara for centuries. It towers over the old city and is one of the most impressive structures in all of Central Asia. Inside, you'll find many museums, ruins of the old palace, historical halls, and great elevated views over the city. There are also musicians and craftsmen around the complex, and the surrounding streets are full of great shopping and food. It's one of those places where you can easily lose a few hours without realizing it. If there's one image most associated with the Silk Road, it's probably Registan Square in Samarkand. Often called the most beautiful square in the world, and honestly, it lives up to the hype. The square is framed by 3 enormous, jaw-dropping madrasas. Standing in the middle of it and looking around at all 3 at once is inspiring. Whether you see it in the daylight or under the cool green night lights, it's one of those places that makes you feel like you're in a movie. And finally, we come to Tashkent. Tashkent's newest landmark is the Center of Islamic Civilization, which officially opened in March 2026 and has already been recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest museum of its kind in the world. It's one of the most ambitious cultural projects in modern Uzbekistan, and it shows. It's also one of the pricier experiences on the list, but even if you decide not to go inside, the exterior alone is stunning. A sweeping, monumental piece of architecture that demands to be photographed. As I said before, there is so much more to see and do in each of these cities. We'll be covering all of these in detail in separate videos, but if your time is limited, these are your must-sees. If I could summarize Uzbekistan in one word, it would be friendly. If I had two words, it would be warm and welcoming. And I think that's ultimately the best thing you can say about any destination. We went in with high expectations. The Silk Road, the history, the architecture, and somehow it still managed to exceed them. The food stuffed us. The shopping tempted us at every turn. The architecture stopped us in our tracks more times than we can count. We were also struck by how clean and safe everything felt. The streets were remarkably litter-free, graffiti was almost non-existent, and we felt comfortable at every hour of the day and night. And then there's the energy of a country on the move. Everywhere we went, big cities, small towns in between, there was construction, renovation, new infrastructure going up. Uzbekistan is actively opening its borders and investing in its future, and you can feel the momentum in the air. Visiting now means you're catching it mid-transformation. It's only going to get easier and better from here. We feel that Uzbekistan deserves to be on more people's radar, and we hope this video helps put it there. Until next time, ciao.